So where did you go from hospitality business?
I went from hospitality business. I attempted to work with somebody from the royal family in Saudi Arabia. It was a brief experience, but it didn't work out. And I ended up
was that
in
the
logistics.
same royal family that we talked about when we were having dinner?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we won't mention them because we have to ask him for permission. Just kidding.
Yes,
great person,
absolutely.
great family.
Yeah.
And
but it was a nice brief encounter to be around such great business mind, such a great business mind. And this is where, I had developed this ability to observe these successful people. What makes them so successful? How do they tick? And, we learn by, osmosis, or we learn by observation. So I end up in the logistics industry in sales with TNT. And that was for a few years. And then I had an incredible opportunity with Ford Motor Company, where I was in charge of after sales and customer service for the GCC and parts of the Middle East. That is the company that taught me how to be the corporate individual. They really worked on me. They developed me. And, I knew what a corporate professional, what executive presence looks like.
Well, if I were going to summarize this, because I don't want to let this slip by, a lot of people will ask me, and you have a bunch of degrees and a bunch of different certifications and experience. If people ask me, and I think it's very similar with you, what is the number one valuable thing that I've learned in my lifetime was, first of all, the privilege of having to have seen the world and also lived in different places, not just visit them on vacation. That's an education that you can't pay for with money.
Yes.
I love the American culture, but that's sometimes something I miss. Some Americans you can take out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the man or the woman. And I love my compatriots, but sometimes I wish they would understand other parts of the world. And that's something that you and I grew up with, being exposed to these cultures. Then you had a military that discipline concept, understanding command, obey, learning to follow. You learned standard operating procedures, which is a big thing, right? You're indoctrinated on that. You understand what's also really important about the military is kind of that esprit, right? You don't follow orders because somebody's giving a command, but it's hearts and minds, right? So that's one thing you learned. Then you went into hospitality, which is, as you said, a wonderful world where you have two spectrums that you have to manage. One, you have to manage guests that can range between kings and queens and princes and princesses and all sorts of walks of life. And then on the other hand, you have wonderful employees that you have to manage, and you have to manage them in a way that they follow you because they respect you and not because you're their boss. And then you said you moved on to a couple different multinational companies where you learned a lot about logistics, and you learned a lot about standard operating procedures and how to really sell a product. So that's a wonderful, wonderful background. Where are you now? I was just looking at your LinkedIn profile before the profile, and I know that you have your own company. You want to say a little bit about your company?
Yes, RPM Consultancy was founded. I founded it in 2002. We're almost 22 years old plus, 23 years old. I started as a one-man show with multiple email addresses. I used to call myself the octopus. And we grew into a really, I'm so proud of my team and the company that we are running. We grew into a small boutique consultancy and training agency. And what I mean by small, we're small by size, but we deal with some amazing names, some blue chip companies from GM to Sony to Canon to Amazon, and the list goes on. And we are in bed with a lot of the banks in Saudi Arabia and the GCC, and we've got a small team of specialized coaches and trainers, and we do team building programs, and we do transformation and culture change programs. So my life is, I live at airports and take airplanes to work, and it doesn't feel like work. I know it sounds very cliche, if you love what you do. It doesn't, you don't work a day in your life, but it is true. It is. Do we get tired? Absolutely. But do we get tired of it? Do I get tired of it? No. So this is my 13th consecutive day away from my family. I'm now in Dammam, Saudi Arabia. And, I cover Middle East, North Africa, Asia, US, Europe. I'm everywhere.
Awesome.
And I feel blessed. And as I mentioned earlier, so this is where I am right now. I'm changing the world one person